up a rock that we could carry. The beach was full of rocks. So even
Yeah, it look like it does next door, doesn't it? Now, where it's just all
yeah, they
rocks and
could do a
stuff.
lot by just taking the rocks
Yeah.
off, And theirs was pretty much the same way. It didn't have hardly any beach. It kind of slanted off, and of course they pushed all the thing down. Some service guy out at Geiger bought it, and they never did nothing with it, and then sold it to Bob.
Well, now, when you were up here, and obviously there was all those rocks on the beach, was it that way all the way down? Like in front of Bob's and Jerry's?
Well, there was, it wasn't. You had to clean your beach up.
Yeah.
We had.
Well, with nobody having cabins up there, then it must
Yeah.
have been rocky all the way down.
And Haney said we had the best spot for going out because so many of them you go out, it drops off
Yeah.
right away. And he said you got the best.
Yeah, it does slope all the way out.
Up there, and see, we stayed down at we stayed down there 2 different summers. Rented a cabin for a month, and then we had a boat that come with the cabin. I used to paddle up here, use oars and come up. And Dad would drive up and work after breakfast, and I'd bring lunch, and we'd come up and eat, stay here. Then when we'd all go back into had a potty can that the kids had a pee-pee in.
This is after you bought it or before when you were...
No, we found it when we was up here and saw a sign. This one and the one that slopes right down is like it goes down to the water.
Oh, right.
There
Before
was
the...
like a triangle kind of, and with only, I think, 50, 60 feet. And this is the one I chose here.
So they had for sale signs on the
they had,
lots?
Yeah, Mixes was the owners, and they had the number. And then we got home, he called them, because we didn't know that that's who owned until we, and so we came up and brought our sandwich up and had lunch with them there, and then we decided they rent around 150 a piece, the lots, and so this one we got for 300. And of course we had at least that rented or whatever, that little island in Loon Lake. And, gosh, I didn't like it at all because it was like you was in a fishbowl. You couldn't go out in your bathing suits or shorts or anything.
Oh, because
the fishermen would sit out there and whistle, and they'd come up there to the shore and stuff. But we had fun while we were there. Folks had that Chris crap, and it made such a horrible noise.
Oh, yeah. I remember the one the guy had next door down.
Yeah. It reminded me because it looked just like that. And I can just imagine why the people hated us kids' guts, because we'd go out around 11 or midnight when the moon was out. We'd juice around. And I thought, never thinking but anybody cared,
Yeah, it sounds like a...
I'm getting it back at me with these other little things.
Yeah, the jet skis and the...
Yeah.
So when you came here and bought this one, it was just a sloped hill, and so Dad must have figured out, okay, this would be a good spot to dig out for the cabin or whatever.
Yeah, well, he started about here, I guess, and then, of course, as he got to here, figured it was hopeless to ever to fit it, so he went this way, and he went down to that Johnson Bungay, the fuel yard down on Division, and picked out all of his slabs. Of course, they all were beautiful. They looked like that one above the door.
Yeah.
All beautiful. What is it? The coatings and everything.
The bark.
And so it was like that for many, many years until it started coming off.
So how long You bought it. Did you like start on it in the spring? It was like springtime. Do you remember? Or
Trailer.
and I know you tell me you slept in the car too, where you'd fold down
Jeannie
the.
slept in the car because she wasn't very big, and we had a regular sized mattress that came out of a 6-year-old crib.
Oh.
But she slept in there, and we had to put mosquito in it, and then those little jumpsuits were that
Jump
Dad
seat?
had fixed in the back. That little tiny crib that you could pull around, we pulled them in around the kitchen or wherever we worked. We put the little springs out of that.
Oh yeah.
Laid it across there and put the mattress
Probably
on.
just the right size.
Right. So and then we slept in the trailer. He had a tarp over it.
But there wasn't a road. Where did you sleep at? You slept down where the road ended?
Well, it didn't take him long to pull that snag over.
Oh.
He did it.
So the road was one of the first things he.
Well, he put in the thing, but we hiked in. Sometimes we parked up above, and County Road, and we'd come down. But we had to carry everything down, and then we'd carry down, drive down, because you parked right down there by Clyde's, and you carry.
And that's where you'd sleep.
Yeah, we carried everything up, and from there, and then we kind of pulled it up. I don't know, it was kittywampus because we had a hard time keeping the road.
So there wasn't actually a road, but it was flat enough you could drive part way up.
The trailer was kind of. And that time you turned around.
I just wondered how long it took him to actually dig out the section for the main section when he started it. If it took him more than a year, a season, or.
And then we took bedspreads. We had this one and 2 other ones we hung up as walls. And as he got wood to make the first flooring was just pieces of wood we picked up. We'd move it out that far, and we had a bed. 2 of those, you'd bring up the sides, they're old-fashioned cots, so like a double bed, and Jean and Barry had to sleep together, and we slept together. And so, and each time, we moved in, how was it, we had a big old stove that we put over there where the door is to go into the kitchen, big old wooden coal stove, and then that cupboard, or that chest that's back there for a work chest, we had in front, and so I had like flour and stuff there. I'm mixing in the washed dishes and put them over. We went out and got those picnic tables, and we hadn't gotten the ice box yet, but they had an old. Then we went out again. They had physiotherapy. They were selling all the stuff because they had ice too, but we couldn't. You couldn't get an electric refrigerator to save your neck. They wouldn't allow you because they had them for all the service hospitals and everything. So we got that one for 50 cents. And that's the one that the wood's in. And the whole top raised up. And so Dad put a shelf in and put that, and it has its all metal lined. And so we put a shelf in, and we'd go down to Haney's and get chunks of ice. And they had a big ice house down there because they saved. Don't do that anymore. I don't think everybody's got.
So they have a store and other stuff down there, or just
they had a big store, and they had a place you'd go get hamburgers.
Wow, down at Haney's?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
It was a big rustic place, and in the back was kind of a bar, and the guy cooked hamburgers, and they had a store. You could get flour and sugar and canned milk, and sometimes if you got there early enough when the trucks come in, you'd get fresh milk. But then they had but we didn't have a boat to take you, to row across because he was too busy working over at Anderson's. They had drawers of stuff that you pull out, all kinds of frozen stuff and everything. So when we did have somebody come out that had a boat,
you go over and
we always brought supplies out, but you only bring so much that you can put in the box.
Yeah.
But then like I said, we stayed down. They had refrigerators down there at the cabins. We had number 12 and number 13 the next year.
And when you had the stove in the corner, obviously he hadn't done the fireplace yet?
Oh, no.
So he built the cabin main part and then built a fireplace after?
The cement in for the. And then as we got more rocks, because he stopped. He did all that before he started on the steps. And like I said.
So he must have had to cut a hole in the roof for the fireplace to go through then finally?
Oh, yeah,
or?
and then we had a little tiny stove too. There we had in the corner here that he put chimney up. And that's when we'd cook corn and stuff when Grandma and Grandpa come up.
Yeah.
Grandpa Anderson, he'd go down that hill like it was nothing, with only his legs off right here. And he'd make himself leather things that he could, and soften them. And he had little crutches. And he went
Amazing how people adapt, huh?
Yeah, he went to work every day. He had a clamp that he fit over the clutch, and he had one crutch in that, and the other one had like a handle from a rake or something that for the brake. He drove to Seattle. He drove to Montana. Some of the kids had a baby or something. Away they go. And he played it. He was a card man down at Aldrich's, and he was an awful good card player. He worked down there every day. He drove down to work.
So he must have liked coming up here too and fishing or whatever. Or up in the...
Bed and Fred had a place out at Clear Lake. They come up a couple times. We never did get out to their cabin. Every time we planned, it seemed like something would come up where the kids was sick or Dad had to work.
I didn't know they had a cabin.
Yeah, they sold it. Well, they had it way up till about 5 years before he died. They didn't have it finished or anything. They just had.
So Fred was a fisherman too then.
Oh, yeah. I remember Montana. Fred was in charge of the Indian reservation over there at that time. And gosh, the water looked like yellow mud coming out. I couldn't drink it. We had to go to the store and buy several cartons of pop. And then we went up in the mountains. Fred took us up in the mountains. And there was creeks up there, real clear creeks. I couldn't, and all we had was an old Prince Albert can that tobacco came in that had worms in it, and we scrubbed that out real good as much as, and I sat and I drank and I drank and I couldn't get used to not have it, but the water was like some gold mines or something.
Oh, so it's kind of muddy.
Yeah, it looked real yellow and like somebody peed.